I remember the first words Caradir ever spoke to me. I lay waiting to die in my cell. The smell of feces and rot lay thick on the air. He strode in, an indomitable figure, dressed in the regalia of a conqueror, not some high lord. He looked down at me with a crude expression, and to my surprise, he smiled. So this is the one who accuses my advisors of treason and treachery. I thought for a moment, parsing my words, but anger twisted my better reason.
Fucking traitors, a lot of them. Sycophants riding the coattails of better men. I'll take the rope before I bow to their corruption.
He seemed taken aback by my outburst, but then simply chuckled. Honesty is a dangerous trait, Commander, but it has its uses. And then he offered me his hand. Your honesty will be the blade I use to cut through the lies that have festered so long in my court. Rise. And so I did. From the records of Shea Paran. Your eyes open. The room is still, cold. The spirits linger. The Mashog looking down, peering from a great height. Behind you, the rustling of movement, an unsteady cough, the shuffling of feet, but no one else enters the room. You're still holding the cold arm outstretched, flesh against flesh.
I'll remain there for a moment, by the bedside, holding that arm with both my hands, eyeing its pale, sleepless form.
Behind you, more rustling. An unsteady intake of breath. The Mashog gather about you closer now, looking down. Sleep, 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 they chant slowly. Asleep at last.
When will she awake?
Who can
Say,
say,
not looking at them.
blessed prince? The Kalishna says not, wills not, unknown, unforeseen.
I'll nod to myself then, gently placing the arm back within the confines of the bed and standing to face the Mashog.
You stand to face the three specters. They stand about you, as tall as towers, peering down through their chain veils, the slits in their masks as dark as night.
I'll take them all in closely, getting a good close look at them for the first time, truly.
They seem almost ethereal, as though you can see them, but not in truth. The edges of them seem to waver, the lines which compose them not quite solid.
I'll shake my head somewhat aloofly, still somewhat in shock at everything I've seen and in disbelief that there wasn't more. Is that it then?
The deed is done, O blessed prince. The deed is done. The other two mimic. Done, done.
She went through all of that just to see those things.
The Mashak do not speak or move, but just stare down. Cold specters, waiting for some unknown thing. Patient. From
Do
God.
do you wish to know what I saw? What she saw and showed me?
The three bow their heads. We do not care.
Hmm.
What was shown must be shown. Beyond that, we simply perceive. From the edges of her vision, someone moves. The priestess of Louthi is now hanging in the doorway, hands pressed against the frame, staring in. She crosses the threshold tentatively, like an animal testing the temperature of the water before they jump into a river.
I believe we are done here, priestess. I'll say, looking past the Mashog to her as she enters the room.
The priestess doesn't really give you a look, but instead looks past you and to the bed. She moves across the floor until at last she sees the arm. The Mossog split to let her pass. Once she has arrived at the veil curtain about the bed, she looks past the shrouded veil, something only she may do. She stiffens then, like a person who's just been slapped. And she turns, face quivering. She sputters for a second, trying to get out words, and then Lord, a healer, she says. There's a frankness to her voice in that moment. She looks back. Halaskir moves to the doorframe, looking in but does not cross the threshold. She turns back. Lord, call for a healer.
Hmm.
Her breath does not come. Louder this time.
Breath does not come.
The heart does not beat, she says, face downturned, looking back.
I'll
Hal-
rush over to the door then, making my way past the Moshog and opening it to look out. Get a healer! Father!
Halaskir lifts a hand. No healer will be able to wake her. He looks past and to the Moshog, and then speaks. You said that she would sleep, that she would rest. She does. She does. She does. The slow, reverberating speech of the Moshog echoes through the chamber. Not gone, says the tallest among them. Merely waiting. Beside
I'll
the bed.
stand there,
Go ahead.
wide eyed, heart beating, looking between my father, the Moshog, and the priestess.
Barduk sinks to her knees and then wails. The Moshog turn to her and then speak. The blessed seer, she is ashen cold. The deed is done. The deed is done. It cannot be undone. They gather around her then, looking down as she wails. They begin to coo, hands reaching out, gently and softly touching the back of the priestess. Your father then closes his eyes and looks away quickly. He mumbles to you, I wouldn't look if I were you. What comes next will not be pretty.
I don't believe what the fuck I'm hearing.
And then the priestess begins to scream. Do you look or do you avert?
I'll turn and look.
Very well. You turn and look against your father's better judgment. The priestess is beginning to twist as the Mashak touch her. Her back distends, her legs twist, her body begins to lose its shape and form. She screams louder and louder, and then it just stops. Silence, echoing, deafening through the hall. She arches her back. The Mashog coo and hum, and then she simply falls to the ground, a pool of flesh, her face melting, the bones in it gone, her eyes staring up at the ceiling. One of the Mashog stares down, the one with the filigree mask. Her soul could not keep its shape. Ult. Then the others proclaiming, Ult, Ult. The soul could not keep its shape. Ult. Alistair shakes his head. Shouldn't have gone in the room, he whispers to himself. Wasn't her place.
I'll stand there, frozen, eyeing the spectacle, something of disgust, something of disbelief,
The
and a bit
priestess
of
is
fear, even.
the priestess is a gibbering pile of ineffable flesh. No real shape or form, a mouth which doesn't quite seem right, shifting and moving.
The Mashog glide past, their feet making no sound as they touch the floor, and into the hall. A chill runs through everyone. You can see the wincing, the leaning back. There are more than just one gathered here now. The priest of Kaush is among them. You don't see your brother, but a few of the other, the Koshani are the first gone. Maybe two. Abseil as well, nameless, staring at you, hands a bit shaky. He looks away when the Mashog exit the chamber, and doesn't look again until they're gone. But then his eyes find you. Your father turns to look at you, eyes narrowed. Dwayner, what did you see? Tell me. What? What did Eidlon reveal? He seems shaky, almost frantic.
With a behavior similar to his, shaky and frantic, I'll look him in the eye. I no. Fuck this. And I'll push past him and the others in the hall, walking quickly down towards my room.
You begin to move. Amsail steps beside you, from behind you. Not as strong. Again, your father speaks.
What did she see? Halim! And then
I will not stop.
you're long past. Your Rama walks beside you, quietly. The silence in that hall that cannot be broken. The silence of people who have seen and done too much. They don't question. They merely walk. Where are you headed?
To my room.
Quickly, quietly, you make your way there. You open the bedchamber and step inside. Your Rama closes the door behind you.
As soon as I enter, I'll begin pacing back and forth in the center. Once the door shuts, I'll look to Abseil.
The Rama
Make
gives
sure
you.
nobody comes in. I don't care who knocks.
Abseil nods in that way of speech. And then they put their back against the door and lean. One leg out, the other leg pressed against the door, a hand on the bone hilt of a knife, nervously moving their fingers across it up and down.
I'll pace for a moment more, back and forth, back and forth. Then I'll stop, sort of just rubbing the bridge of my nose with my hands. What is the fucking point of all of that?
Abseil grimaces. I doubt you will be able to understand. I cannot. The vision, it should have revealed the path. But from your reaction, well, it does not need to be said.
It revealed nothing. It was just a scattering, a smuttering of a bunch of different happenings. Some ill, some well.
Perhaps what she was to reveal was misconstrued. Perhaps we expected too much. He shakes his head, staring down at his feet, the grimace not leaving his pleasant face.
She went all through all of that just for this. It's just for nonsense. I saw things. I made sense of them. I tried. I did. But it's just... I'll sort of drop my hand, talking with it vigorously. I'll drop my shoulders low as well. I'll go and find a chair to sit in, slumping down in it.
Sit down in the chair which leans near to the window. And then the Rama moves over and sits cross-legged beside it, staring out and over the low window sill and into the night. There are things yet to do tomorrow. If you do not rest. They shake their head, cutting off their own words. We must go on.
Go on. Yes.
One thing at a time, they say, looking up at you. We will move past this. Or we won't.
How am I simply supposed to move past this? I have... I have all these things that I was shown, that I've seen. I have to make sense of them somehow.
Then think. All does not need to be known now, says the Rama softly.
Yet people will want answers. They will want to know what I've seen. I don't have an answer for them. What do I tell them, To fuck off?
You tell them nothing. The visions were not shown to them. They were not for them. They were for you, and you alone. The seeress does not share her visions willingly, nor pridefully. You have been given a gift. You. No one else.
You're right.
And if Halaskir asks, you do not need to speak of it. It is not a requirement on you to do so. Even the Mashag would uphold such a law.
Seems also wasteful.
Perhaps it is. But I leave you to your decisions. For without those things you are nothing.
I do not believe rest will come easy to me tonight.
It won't.
I'll say, leaning back in the chair, cocking my head back and staring up at the ceiling.
And tomorrow? Tomorrow there will be much to do. We will need to prepare. Tack, saddle, provisions. They lean their head back for whatever the Majud has planned. I have yet to be able to parse what that might be. Ishak has been vague. That is unlike a Majud.
He's always vague. Always keeps his words to himself. Never plays his hand.
The Rama turns.
I guess he's doing that now. In the way that he knows best, which is showing and not saying. So we'll see what happens come tomorrow. That's all we can do.
At that, the Rama simply nods. From across the room, you can see that Katsi has been upright, watching and listening to the conversation. For how could he sleep? Such anger, such wrath. When he notices you, turns his head away. A strange motion for a man without eyes. The Rama stands, staring out the window. 5 days. No. 4. 4 days. And then something else. We could wash ourselves of this place for a while. Maybe then you'll have time to think.
I'll just sit there, cocking my head out towards the window as well, where Abseil stands, looking somewhat numbly, aimlessly.
They look to you. Put a hand on your shoulder. Come to bed.
No. I need to think.
They nod. Very well.
Do as you will.
Now we'll make sure at least one of us has their strength for the morrow. He walks over, disrobing, letting the scars on his back flex, and then slips into the bed to sleep. Gutsy.
Watch them somewhat curiously as they do so, turning my head away once they head for the bedside.
You are more attentive now. The slight sway of hip. The narrowness of their upper shoulders and back. But still, the muscularity there is of no small regard. The build of a warrior.
Swallow, blinking my eyes and turning away.
Gutsy grins. He stares blindly out the window to the tower.
You have incurred much in a small amount of time.
I have. I'll say, joining him and staring out of the window.
Walk over to the side of the bed and sit down, placing your back against it and look out of the tower with him. That pinnacle seems far more dreadful after the events of the night. Your mind keeps wallowing back to the moments before Parju's form was transmogrified, turned into nothing more than a pile of formless flesh and eyes and a mouth which screamed. Gutsy coughs, and then puts his hand up to his mouth, holds his chest. Autumn is coming. It gets cold. I assume the plans of your father have not gone well.
I don't even know.
Alice, at that, Gutsy nods again. Well. He looks as though he's going to say something, but then retracts, growing sullen. You Goshani. You hold such poise. But Not USRs. So different. So enigmatic. But also, I don't know how to say it. Explosive? Like a storm waiting to break? None of your companions, none of the other Koshani with which I spoke, ever had that propensity, that inner violence. They were so serene, composed.
That's why we're tyrant breakers and conquerors. The rest of the Koshan did not do that. We did. The House of Azar. Lay standing up and walking towards the window to lean in the frame.
Inon speaking to your back. Perhaps I misjudged something. I saw you as tyrants, not the breakers of tyrants. Maybe a lapse in judgment. Who can say?
I find it curious that we conquered these cities in lives past, yet we abandoned them, left them, settled lands to the south instead.
The land south is better. The soil more fertile. The expanse more bountiful. Here's nothing but the sea. You're closed in on two sides. Mountains and that. He says, nodding towards the tower. It all seems,
Yes.
well, like a noose tightening about the throat. Like you're pushing through a narrow passage between two impenetrable boundaries. And I could see why the Koshani would go south, to get away from that constricted feeling.
I'll just sit there for a moment, standing, rather leaning on the window frame, looking out towards that tall tower.
What will you do now, Halim? Katsi says, almost a smile in his voice.
I have not claimed that name yet. That is what I will do. I will take it, and then I will move forward. That is all I can do.
A silent nod, an affirmation, and then, very well, conqueror.
Not yet. Soon, though. I'm nodding to myself as I look over the city.
Perhaps there is still chance for an accord then.
I'll turn my head, cocking my eye towards the blind man.
He smiles as you look at him, in that strange and unnerving way he has.
An accord? The one you spoke of?
He nods slowly. But you must prove yourself. Only then the resplendent king awaits.
You know, in all those visions that I saw, I'll say, leaving the window frame, walking towards Katsi, till I stand over him. You showed up.
Oh,
Quite frequently, rather.
he looks up at you, nods slowly. Then I must be quite important to the future.
Yes. I believe.
He nods again. Glad to hear that I share a place in this picture of yours. This canvas on which you paint.
Alongside Abseo, my brother, my father, and my sister. All years down the line. All together. Various
Abso.
places, undergoing various things.
The Rama turns from the bed slightly. Still nameless. He smiles, closing his eyes, blinking heavily.
For now, yes.
Nods. I would appreciate you keep my name out of the air. It's bad luck.
Bad luck.
They turn back over, pulling the blanket more tight around them against the cold of the night. Kanzi looks down at his stumps, bringing them up to rub his cheeks, and then places them back in his lap. Well, don't you have something you're about?
Moment, no.
And I thought you
And
were
I'm just
always
thinking.
industrious. And he simply nods, shutting his mouth.
I'll turn away from him then, moving back over towards the window and finding a place to sit by it. I will remain there, pondering, thinking long into the night until sleep finally claims me.
At some point, you get up from your perch. It's not to fall off the side and into the darkness below. You wander to your bed. You find sleep then. The weariness takes you. Your eyes open. The new day come. The Rama is gently tugging on one of your feet. Time to wake. They say, looking down at you, already dressed. Your head is pounding, sore, and your stomach burns.
I'll sit up with a groan, stretching. I will not complain, however, I will pull myself to my feet, begin to get dressed for the day, wearily rubbing my dark eyes.
Traveling clothing, says the Rama, helping you then into it. The knee-length skirt, the tied riding belt, the long coat which comes down almost to your calves, sort of a gray robe that closes about both the skirt and the undershirt you wear. All of this meant for the riding of horse. The shoes as well are different, no longer sandals. The Koshani do not ride in sandals. Instead, short shoes, open on the top, laced together though, around the ankle. What Once these are on, the Rama turns to inspect you. Kotze is, well, dead asleep in the corner, huddled in a ball, almost like a dog. There is much that must be done. We must prepare ourselves for journey. The Majut said necessary tack and provisions for a few days.
Hmm.
And a weapon. That to me sounds singular.
Sure, get them. All simple enough to gather.
That the Rabanat. Hmm.
I imagine we'll want to do it quietly, though.
A nod. The Majut approached you with the intent of secrecy. We should uphold his wishes.
Yes, we will make mention of this to no one else. And we will collect these supplies under the pretense of something else.
A nod. On the note of the provisions required, what weapon will you choose? It must be some sort of test. Your choice will hold weight.
What weapons have I been trained in?
The long, curved knives, the bow, both the short bow for horseback and the longer bow, used most often in the siege of cities. The short spear, of course, and beyond that, the martial art of your people. A mix of groundwork, wrestling, and strikes. There's no weapon, though.
Hmm. We will take the knives.
At that, the Rama nods. Very well. Gently, they undo the hilt about their waist and hand it towards you. Wear it under your cloak, then.
We'll take the belt they hand me and strap it around my waist underneath the robe I wear.
You do this. The pleasant wind rushes in through the open window into the chamber. It's a bright day. A sunny day. With blue sky, cloudless. The mist of the shore is already dissipated in the early morning. The Rama turns to look out. Favorable tides. Good wind.
I'll stare out of it, something of a curt pensiveness in my eyes. I'll turn then and get back to readying myself for the day.
You move, picking up all the necessary things which you have within your chambers. Traveling satchel. Normally this would be carried by your Rama, but still. There's not much to pack. You have no jewelry of note, nothing of wealth or value, outside of those things which are sentimental. Provisions will need to be garnered from other places. But still, rolls and changes of linen, and the small amount of medical supplies you keep in your room for self-care. These are placed away. Once you are done this series of tasks, the Rama turns to the door, is abruptly opened. Halan strides in, his face a strange mask, barely kept. He looks at you, the Rama, Katsi lying in the corner, and then doesn't make eye contact with anyone else after that. Behind him, you can
I'll
see the
just
guards that have been assigned to him.
I'll just stand there in the center of the room, pulling the cloak over the dagger on my hip, staring at him blankly, waiting for him to speak.
Brother, what happened? He says, a rush of emotion in his voice. I heard last night. Is it true? Aylan is unwell.
I'll turn my eyes down, my mouth falling open slightly, searching for an answer, and then I will abruptly shut it, my eyes narrowing as I look at my brother. I have no certain answers for you.
He grimaces. I heard it by some rumor. I don't understand. Why by rumor and not by my father or by you? He looks chagrined. His hands clasped in front of him. Am I not to be privy to the health of my family?
Alan, I do not have time for this today. Go ask father. He'll likely tell you as much as I will, which is very, very little.
He looks at you up and down for a second and then... What are you about?
I have important business outside the keep today.
He nods, eyeing Katze again, and the Rama. He stares past you then. And then he snaps his jaw, narrows his eyes, and then just shakes his head awkwardly. He turns, making his way from the room. He shuts it rather firmly, not slamming it, but not gently either. You can hear him and his guard moving down the hall. The Rama gives you an awkward look, lifting an eyebrow.
I'll just turn to them, shrugging somewhat unamusedly.
They shake their head and turn away.
I don't know what to tell him. I don't know what he wishes to hear.
The
It
Rama
was no
shrugs.
slight intended for him, but if he wishes to see it that way, then that is his purview.
He is impulsive. We cannot change that. The Kalishna has willed it. And it is
Yes, the
his
Kalishna.
nature. You will understand in time.
That is all everyone ever says.
It
You will
is the
see,
truth.
you will understand in time. It's the truth.
Perhaps you will know sooner than you think. But in the knowing, there is a certain... Well, there is another layer of questions that's opened. He shrugs. It's still a maze even I have to navigate. Trust me with this one. It does
I've
not
had
get
enough of
easier.
questions and thinking. I just want to go in and get things done today. I'll just go and get these provisions, and then we will go meet the Majud.
At that, the Rama nods. The rendezvous was in the evening, I believe.
The evening, yes.
That gives us a lot of time. Good. There is a lot to do. Rohaj will need to be cared for and prepared. I have been trained in such matters, but I have no doubt you have as well.
I can take care of my own horse. I imagine you have one as well.
A shake of the head. No, no
No.
steed. I have walked.
A shame.
Can Rohaj saddle too?
Most definitely.
A nod, and that will have
He's
to be the
healthy
way of
and is
it.
strong.
I will need to find a steed before we leave with the 12th. I would not make Rohaj saddle too for that long of a journey, but we may not have another choice for this one.
This is but a short trip. He'll make do.
And not again. At that he will. He knows his purpose, and he serves it well.
We can grab some provisions later in the evening, right before we leave. That
Fresher
way
than.
it gives people less time to talk. As you hear
Yes.
Halan, rumors like to find their way around.
Rumors have already spread. But from who? The priest of Couch? Your father? No. Absurd. The
It
other
matters not who. People talk. You cannot help that. You cannot control what they say. We just have to deal with the fact that they have spoken. You know that everybody's going to know about this
A
bit of
nod.
family business that is not theirs.
Absolutely. It's why I wish to know, to handle the problem. We cannot stop the rumors, but we can punish those who spread them.
There's no point.
Some things don't need a point. Some things simply should be done. It is our nature. My nature is to be angry that your business has been spread about. I find great anger in that. Even now I control myself. It is hard. My hand itches. But still I cannot be uncontrolled in this moment. You need me. They simply
Yes.
nod at that.
So this is a problem that we will leave to my father. They are the rumors within his own hall. If he wishes them dealt with, he will.
I understand. The Rama simply nods. Enough time then. Where to?
I don't know. If I'm in all honesty, I don't know.
I think, perhaps, Prince, you should eat. You look unwell.
Could use some fresh air as well. Have the servants cook something up and bring it out to the courtyard.
I was going to say. The tree, they say,
Yes.
lifting an eyebrow, and then they nod.
It'll be quiet there.
They move to the door, step outside for a second. You hear a knock on it, a strange series of clicks to summon the servants. They've been trained. A few seconds later, the Rama steps back inside. They will bring us necessary provisions. I have asked them bring extra feed for Rohaj as well.
Let us go then. I'll say,
Nod.
stepping past them out into the hall, and down towards the courtyard.
A nod. The two of you silently make your way north and along the wing. Eventually, you proceed into the courtyard. There, the sun, dazzling, strikes down upon the ground, turning the earth a ruddy color. The old tree whispers in the wind, its leafless branches swaying back and forth with an old groaning creak. The Rama moves to it, and then leans against it, looking up at it.
I will do the same. Instead, though, coming to its base, its roots, and sitting down, placing my back against the tree.
Rama smiles. It's a peaceful place, this courtyard. So much violence has filled it, both in your time and in the past. The wind is nothing more than a pleasant breeze. The sky, a few clouds drift through it, lilting their way across, tufts of white and gray.
As I sit, I'll stare at Abseo, sizing them up again. How old do they look? Can I take a guess?
Perhaps, maybe a year older, if that. It's hard to tell. Their feminine features make them seem younger, softer somehow, though their body is hard. They notice you staring and look, eyes opening wide, almost like a cat. They seem a bit taken aback at the stare. My prince, why do you study me so?
I was just curious
And,
about how old you were.
oh, I am near my 17th day, blessed prince, they say quietly. Though my upbringing was sheltered, I have not met my years with experience yet, I think.
You look to have been well trained, though,
I have
in a
killed.
great deal of things in your form.
They nod. I have killed. And I have been injured. I have trained, just as you have. Majut, back in the Southland. Though mine was far less industrious than your own.
Hmm. You pick your words carefully.
It is a matter of respect. Sometimes I worry that mask will drop.
You have no need to keep it up around me.
I am a sullen and angry person, my prince. I keep it up out of a matter of control. I... Well, they shake their head. I will not lie to you. I have been called unstable by my fellow Kashani in the south. Though their idea of control is placid and perfect. Sorry, implacable and perfect.
If it's any consolation, that is not what I made of you when I first saw you.
What did you
And
make
in
of me?
fact, I think that might be a good quality. Get along with us as Azars more. We're not known for our stable tempers.
I watched Rabas once break almost every bone in a servingman's body for disrespecting the word of the Kalishna. He then made the man crawl to the Mashog to request Aushata with his broken legs. No, I think some among the Azar far too... And then they stop themselves and in chagrin look away.
Cruel?
No, I would not say cruel. I would say punitive.
I could see that, most definitely. My father does not take small slights very lightly.
He shouldn't. He is Halaskirazar, the King of Exiles, the Lord of Ruin, the one who both conquered the Koshani tyrants and led his people into exile, the one who placed the Moshog over the will of the Kalishna. He is an industrious man. Even now, even in the city.
I get the sense that he almost feels himself alone, toiling with the games of many different peoples and men around him, trying to put forward his own vision.
He is alone. Dwainer, Ilbaran has passed. Her name will never be proclaimed again. And she alone knew his heart.
I always wonder if he held a grudge against me for that.
Who knows? What you did was a blessed thing.
So say the Moshog. So say the Kalishna. But what about him?
A nod then. What about him? What if he slowly plants and plants seeds of deceit and downfall about you? Is that what you worry for? Betrayal?
No,
Or ire? Or what then? They say carefully, quietly.
I don't think he'd ever betray me.
Neither
I
do
don't think
I.
he hates me.
Simply regards you as a tool, perhaps. The fatherly love that one might seek may not, in fact, be there. That he may not hold the capability for it.
I think he cares about me and Halan. I just think there are far greater things on his mind right now. The weight of that tower and everything swarming around him is getting to him. He does not have time to focus on his family like he once did.
If I can be candid, what you just said, a they stop and think. Observation, Prince.
You can speak candidly whenever you wish in my presence. You don't have to ask permission.
Your father has seemed very unstable, they say quietly.
Yes.
We must find him stability. We cannot fail in Karat Khan. These cities matter. They lean in. This is a test. That is what I think.
He does love his tests.
No, not a test from him. He is being tested, not by the Moshok. Foreign powers are at play here.
Callian and Caradir.
A
I would say
nod.
so, most definitely. From what I've heard, it seems like those two sorts are pitted against each other, vying for influence in the Idavar, just as how he might be vying for influence against the Moshog amongst our own people. There's a complex web of games being played with many different actors. Relaz, for instance, is one who owes his allegiance to Caradir and has likely been sent here by the man to ensure that the Idavar's influence is upheld
And not
at all times
Kallian's.
in the eyes of the Idavar. And not Callian's. Yes. I think that's might be why Callian arrives here soon. To help get things back on track.
A nod. I
He
think
is a
so.
man who has much great control in the Southlands, and his counterpart much great control in the North. You could see it as two courts forming, two blocks of power. We are under the control of one such block, Callians. But the Idavar still vies for influence amongst us in these cities to either see us fall, to weaken their opponent, or to convert us over to his side. How that plays out is yet to be seen. I think for laws of most of all is here to not necessarily help us, but more so oversee the situation and ensure that we don't get too powerful and we don't get too weak.
A nod. I think you have a thumb on the situation. Someone should put a knife in Ralaz's back. They say casually, looking at the tree.
He might have ears around.
A shrug.
Did you ever glance that creepy girl that he had with him while you were about
The Rama
before we
looks at
met?
you. I assumed she was a bed slave.
No. She is far, far more than that. She reeks of the stench of power just as he does. As Kotzi said, they are Elu.
Elu. A foreigner's word. A nod. But that word has spread far after the coronation of your father. It is whispered in the villages and cities near to Karat Khan that a man alight with fire slew many of the warden's men.
I was there. I saw it with my own eyes.
Then it is true, they
I,
ask,
in
lifting
fact,
an eyebrow.
walked Kotsier up to the dais.
So Katsi is some sort of Elu.
Yes.
A grin then.
A man who can burst into flame, killing many around him.
They shake their heads.
Relaz and that woman, they were doing something strange to him as well that one night. When I caught his ire, I forced them to stop it. It was such a terrible thing.
A nod. We must not let these foreign influences corrupt us or our allies.
These foreign influences might come with power, though. Opportunity. We cannot simply deny them because they are not Kushani ways.
I think in this we may differ. A shrug. I will let the experience of years sway your opinion one way or the other. It is not mine to change your mind, Prince.
Fair enough.
I know that you will always be concise. That you look first, act third.
What I thought of you when you first arrived. You were an enigma. I had you pinned from the start the moment I saw you who you would be. That you would be my Rama.
A nod. I did not try to conceal that fact.
No. You seem very knowledgeable. You have a certain wisdom beyond your years.
One learns much when in the court of the Prince of Blossoms. If you think me wise, then I wonder what you will think of Auschlim.
It is something I am looking forward to, meeting the man.
And not,
That time comes soon, as does many others.
I think you will find them, not what you are expecting.
I don't quite know what I expect.
And
I
you
like
can
to keep
never
an
be
open mind with
disappointed.
such things.
Not.
Yes.
Food is brought. Small provisions for the luncheon. It is almost to the noon after all. The gathering of provisions within your room took a while. You had to parse through all your belongings. You sit by the tree, you and the Rama eating. When you are done, the Rama turns. May I see you, Rohaj?
Of course. They're in the stables out there. Come.
The Rama follows as you lead. Find your way over to the stables. Then, opening them, you find Rohaj in good health, having been cared for. The tall horse turns. Its pallid gray hide, the strange dotting across it, well sheened and well brushed. Its tail flops back and forth as it snorts, turning to look at who is now intruding its small wooden home. The Rama
I'll,
smiles. Go ahead.
I'll approach Rohaj, placing a hand on his nose and gently stroking it. Hello there, friend.
The horse lowers its head, allowing you to scratch its neck and mane, to pat its snout. The Rama reaches forward, gently touching its flank, feeling the well-brushed hide. Well cared for. This is Rohaj, they say, nodding approvingly.
Yes. I'll turn and look at them, something of a grin coming onto my lips as I gently pet my horse.
They look at you, an eyebrow raised, lips pursed. That look worries me a bit.
I've never let anybody else ride Rohaj before.
Ah, hmm. They utter, nodding.
Would you like to?
Lifting him for the eyebrow. A short, curt nod. Yes. A simple response.
Bring my hand down to open the gate to the stable stall then, and I will lead Rohaj out, making sure that he's well equipped with all the tack and such that he'll need to be riding with later, anywho.
You saddle him. Hang his girdle straps up and around. Place the bit. Check his blinders and all that. You make sure the short, simple saddle is correctly fastened. Just enough so that it can be flexible. Placing all the various leg straps in stride. Once this is done, all the balders are fastened. The Rama moves forward. Gently, they swing a leg up and around the steed. They sit down on the saddle, masterfully. They turn to look at you before grabbing the reins. This is all right.
All right, you say? Yes. I would hope it's more than all right.
They nod
I'll
awkwardly.
still be grinning and I'll back up, crossing my arms. Go, right around the courtyard.
The Rama speaks in the high Koshani, giving the command to Rohaj. Rohaj snorts, and then turns back to look at the Rama. Doesn't move. The Rama narrows their eyes and nods, looking to you. I don't think they're willing to take my commands.
Put a little bit more force into it. Loud.
They nod. And then they move the reins and shout the Koshani word again. Rohaj snorts, shaking its head, and whinnies, loud and braying, into the courtyard against the wind. The Rama narrows his eyes again, and then lets down the reins gently. He will not move. That was no meek command, they say, looking to you, raising an eyebrow. It seems Rohaj has been trained well. No person shall steal him, nor ride him, it seems.
I'll give the command then, loudly in a commanding tone, as I normally do when I ride Rohaj.
You give the command. Rohaj bolts forward. The Rama tries to keep their balance, quickly leaning forward, trying to grab the reins since they weren't in their hands. They manage to do so barely, but not before having to pull themselves forward as not to tumble off the horse backwards. Rohaj begins to gallop around the edges of the courtyard, dust spitting up behind him. He
I'll
runs
stand
in a
back.
circle. Go ahead.
I'll stand back, arms crossed, trying to stifle a laugh, though the grin on my face unmistakable.
The Rama's face has gone pale. You can hear them shout as they come to the first lap, the command to halt. Rohaj does not halt. Rohaj continues to run. Another lap. The Rama is pressed flat against Raj now, wrapping their hands around the reins and trying to flatten themselves as the stallion gallops.
The whole time, I'll kind of keep an eye on my Rama and pay close attention to how they're seeming to deal with the chaotic situation before them.
They've managed to get their feet up and into the straps after up and in, I forget what they're called. Where you put your
Stirrups.
feet. Yeah, the stirrups. Words don't always come. They managed to get their feet up and into the stirrups, and they've managed to flatten themselves as the stallion gallops at full pace. The fact that they were not thrown out the back of the horse means their reflexes are quick since Rohaj darted instantly. They have managed to stabilize themselves effectively at that, and they're riding well, but they don't seem comfortable. The saddle is not fitted for them. Their hip is too wide, as yours is far more narrow. This, of course, forces them to lean up and off. They go around a third lap. They turn to look at you as they pass, and then shout, "The word! Give him the word to halt!" they say, sounding a bit out of breath, but not too disconcerted or, well, flustered.
I'll let them go around for a fourth, a
They,
fifth.
they go around a fourth and a fifth. Each time, they stare at you as they go past, but this time they do not ask. Instead, they lean into it, leaning with the saddle at the turn of the courtyard each time. They seem to have taken well with the momentum at this point. They have been trained well. This is one that you could ride on raids with. Though
I'll nod, impressed.
they still seem very awkward with your saddle. It's not fitted to them, And again, their hips are too wide and do not fit, so they can't sit. Instead, they have to lean back in a half-sitting, half-leaning position.
When it comes around to the sixth, I'll shout the halt command.
Rahaj halts suddenly. The Rama jolts forward, but manages to wrap their arms around Rahaj's neck as to not fall forward off the saddle from their position. They sit back hard. They breathe heavily. Their knees had been clenched the whole time around the stallion's midsection, and now their legs tremble a bit.
I'll come over and gently help them down so they don't fall from the horse.
You help them down. They're a few inches shorter than you. This, of course, has also made it difficult, as Rohaj's height is meant for a taller Koshan. They look at you, but down for a second and look away, cheeks flushed. Heavy breath comes from them.
You did well.
Seemed unnecessary, Prince. But I do not find issue with your decision.
How modest of you.
Gently, they lift their hands down onto their knees and stare down at the ground, a bit dizzy.
I'll place a hand on their back. I'd ride with you any day. You did well.
They shirk for a second, looking at you, and then give a soft, but genial smile, familiar even, before looking away. Well, best not to ride him out. He has far to go.
I've ridden him for much longer, and he's fared well.
A nod.
One of the stronger mounts that I've seen.
He would make an Antean steed. Work. They trail off, losing the words.
Yes. And if you thought that was a lot, imagine Ejak making me do, what, 12, 20, 30 laps around this yard? Full speed.
They nod slowly, and then you must have quite the scars from chafing. I cannot imagine the blisters, nor the pain in your backside or spine.
That is the point he always makes to drill in, most pertinently with every single instruction. Pain, pain, pain.
I wonder
it's always a part of it.
What the man has planned for us tonight. We cannot be going far from the city, can we?
I would make no such assumptions with Ejak. He will most likely seek to push us, and if he doesn't, then something truly strange is off.
Prepare for your Sohaba, no doubt.
I still think that might be the case, but I don't truly know. Something about the way he approached us seemed oddly personal. He's never done that before.
I agree. It was not in the mannerisms of a Mawjud. Well...
And very unlike him. He tells, he gives orders, he does not talk, he does not chat. He does not withhold information. He says what's on his mind. This is something different.
It is at that. Well...
I'll see to Rohaj.
A nod.
Go, rest underneath the tree. Catch your breath.
They move over to the tree.
I'll pat them hard on their back.
They seem a little uncomfortable with the motion for a moment, but then simply nod. Perhaps not used to the physical touch. Their cheeks still flushed. They flitter their eyes, looking at you for a second, then up at the sky and away as they walk towards the tree. They sit down next to it, burying their head in their lap as they still breathe hard. Rohaj just looks at you, having not really broken a sweat, his flanks unmoving, unquivering.
I'll come up to him, a smile on my face. I'll place my forehead against his own. Good boy, Rohaj, good boy.
The horse almost seems to feel it, that moment of praise. His tail swishes, and he lowers his mane, bowing his head as he has been trained to do before you.
I'll take Rohaj back to the stable then.
Take him back. Saddle and tack ready, traveling bags fastened. Still the matter of other provisions. You have your traveling cloak on already, as does the Rama, the long, white one, beautiful and pure outside of the hem which is torn from the long travel.
After I'm done placing Rohaj back in his stable, I'll come back to the tree to find my Rama. As I do so, I will kind of glance around the courtyard, still somewhat paranoid of the shadowy figures I've seen about.
You stare. Your vision twitches for a second. Again, the vision crosses. A moment of transfixed reality. You see Absail, cloaked in white and blood. Then you blink and it's gone. He looks up at you as you approach. Takes in the look on your face. Then they begin to look around the courtyard too, as you did. They stand. More ears than are welcome. They whisper.
I'll blink, somewhat taken aback upon seeing the glance of the vision. Always out here. There's always somebody listening.
A nod. Maybe we should have been more quiet. They ruminate for a second.
It wouldn't have mattered.
A nod. You're probably
Just
right.
know,
And the wind is loud as well, they say, nodding to the sky.
no, whoever it is, they just seek to watch me. I don't know who they are. I've yet to confront them. Every time I try to close in on them, they manage to get away.
At that, the Rama nods. He reaches down for a second, grasping his thighs, his hands digging in, and then his hands release. A vein popped for a second along his neck and then was gone. He stands. What next, Prince?
Well, we still have a long day before us. We should go see the provisions. I don't know who to get them from, though.
A nod.
Any suggestions?
The Tarish quartermaster will probably be more pliant.
Yes.
You could ask the 12. They would be quiet about it.
Keep a secret, indeed.
And you have been given to their care already. No one will question you speaking to one of their members.
No.
Do they have a quartermaster? They seem a small
believe
squad.
They do.
Galtier.
I think I can ask Cotier.
At that, the Rama nods. I know I am not to leave our side, but I have things which require me. A privy moment, they said, nodding. I think not you wish to look upon that. The contents of my bladder are, I would say, less than none of your business.
I'll eye them somewhat strangely for a moment and then nod my head in agreement. I can go see to the 12th. Meet back up with me when you can.
No long need. You may stay in the courtyard, simply privacy for a moment.
Of course.
They stand, make their way over to Rohaj's shed, small stable erected against the wall. They slip behind it. You're alone near the tree with the wind.
Sort of stand there in the courtyard and take it in, looking around, listening to the howling winds.
A strange serenity falls over you in that moment. You feel yourself splitting again like you did the night before, as though pulling away from yourself, your mind emptying reflexively.
Let that feeling pull me for a moment, pull me out of reality and into whatever else I saw in that stone upon my neck.
You enter into the stone mind, allowing it to consume you until everything is nothing. It feels easier now, like something you've gotten used to. You slip into it, like you would slip into a pair of old boots. And then, Prince?
Hmm.
The Rama's voice.
Yes.
They're walking up to you, not to disturb your moment, but they look up at the sky. The antics of Rohat, the food, and the time we spent preparing. Soon it'll be coming close to evening. I would not wish to
Yes.
miss the 12.
Miss them before they go on their nightly tavern run, most assuredly.
At
Come,
that,
let's
they
go and get that done
grimace.
quickly.
I do not approve of men who cavort in such wise,
Hmm.
but I feel it is hardly I feel they hardly approve of me either. They shrug. These Tavrish men, they give me such looks as to chill the spine. I cannot tell what they are thinking behind their beards.
Tavrish soldiers are a gross lot. Think the worst.
I have never seen such an undisciplined lot. Even Odar's men. The Vroshi put them to shame.
Hmm. As long as they do their duty, I do not much care for what they get up to in their free time.
You head
They're
back.
dogs, though, a lot of them.
You head back and into the hall. Begin to wander along it. The wind is muted, dying down, then dissipates almost fully. Silence in that hall, dwelling there. You walk, you and the Rama, till at last you come to the small Tavish encampment, which lies in the eastern wing. You step out and into the large holding courtyard. There you begin to walk past the old tents, pavilions, till you come to the last one, the homeliest of them all, at the end of the row. There you find the 12 gathered about, its odd mix of colors and voices echoing through the courtyard as they sing some Tavish song in their own speech. Piran is sitting there, holding an old tankard in his hands. His eyes peer to look at you as you approach. He nods, and then places the tankard beside him on the barrel on which he sits. Ah, Dwainer! He nods.
Shay, I'll say, coming up to him, sort of rubbing my tired eyes with a loose finger.
Ah, you look like shit.
I
Say
could say that
poorly.
about you every day.
Ha! The Koshani with a sense of humor. What a rare occurrence. And I shall archive it. He grins, and then lifts a hand. How can the 12th be of service? I must regrettably inform you that a few of our ranks are, well, Not at their best, he says, grinning and looking behind himself at the group gathered around the barrel, which he sat.
I expect no more of Tarish soldiers, I'll say, smiling.
Hardly, Tallfish. That one there,
Hmm.
parry him, he says, nodding to a man with skin the color of the stone you wear around your neck. That one? He's swell. This Vene. You couldn't tell. Like, the expression like he has a stick up his ass. He nods to a tall, thin, pallid-skinned man, scarred face, missing a few fingers on the left hand. Nasty-looking fellow. A mismatch of armor that hardly speaks of professionalism.
You make a point.
He
Though to me, you
shrugs.
still just all look Tarish.
Well, he shrugs. So, how might I be of assistance?
Hmm.
I
I
assume
could
you have
use
a
a few
reason.
days. Yes. I always have a reason. I could use a few days' supplies.
Oh, off the ledger, he says, leaning in and smiling.
If I wanted them on the ledger, I'd go to a Koshani quartermaster, or the Tavrish one.
He nods. Very well. Kalter, he shouts. Yes, Commander, says the tall, willowy man with the wild hair. He moves over, praising you with his single eye, grinning madly.
Hi, Coulter.
He nods. What am I needed for? He says, looking to Paran. I don't know. Ask him, Paran says, nodding back to you. Kalter looks to you then. Well, what can I do? He says, oddly, slurring his words.
I could use 3 days' supplies.
He sputters then.
For
3
travel.
days supplies? Well, that's... Well, for just one, he says, looking you up
2.
and down, and then to the Rama. He nods to the Rama. 2, then. I could possibly finesse 2 days' supplies, he says, looking back over his shoulder at the crates beneath the pavilion. Then he looks to the other pavilions around him, nodding. 2 days' supplies, and you're small at that, he says, looking down at you. Well, tell you what. Give me an hour. He lifts an eyebrow.
Of course.
The 12 has a very limited ration. He grins. I'll make sure you have your supplies, though. Soon enough, he says, looking back behind him.
Much appreciated.
Kaltir gives you a dirty grin, winking with his one eye, and then moves back towards his compatriots. Paran harumphs. He's going to steal. He shakes his head.
I figured.
Fucking loud. He's gonna get us all strung up. At least he's clever about it. Probably take the boy, no doubt. He says, looking at the youth, who now is lifting his own tankard. Well, at least he's a better
Why
thief
do
when
you
he's
have a
drunk.
Why do you have a boy with you? I never asked that question.
He
I met the little
shrugs.
fucker.
Well, that is a long story. That is some lord's ill-gotten prodigy. He grins. Rumor is he's a jealousy bastard. But that's probably just to tell the story the whores tell themselves to keep some level of pride, if there can be any.
Huh.
Still,
And how does your Durva fare? Said he was ill the last time we met.
he's been shitting himself from dawn to dusk. Dawn again. He'll live, though. But at the moment, he's taking up more than a comfortable share of rations. I've had to fetch him water almost a dozen times. And, well, the company medic is, he's more unsavory than Coltier.
If I could get you anything for him that you don't have access to, just let me know.
He nods. A Medazia would be nice, but the squad doesn't have access to that. Only the captains may request one, and Stern says he doesn't want to stick his nose out for an Alarshman. It's a mess.
I could put in words with the Mandatio, have them come by.
If you can,
I'm familiar with
I
quite
would.
a few.
If you can, the 12th would be in your debt, he says, nodding and grinning. But don't push it too hard for us. He grins. We get on well enough.
Oh, yes. Speaking of which, you and you're getting along well enough with people. Familiar with Relaz?
Ah, more familiar than you'd think, says the man, his eyes narrowing, his smile leaving.
I had a most unpleasant conversation with that rat fuck, and he seems to have it out for you lot. Tried to convince me not to take you along on our little expedition north. Wanted me to take the third instead. Told him
Every
to go fuck himself.
every conversation with that man is an uncomfortable conversation, even in the Empire. He shakes his head. The third. That lot of lily-livered sissies. No, no, that's failure waiting to happen.
Yes. He wants Halan to be paraded around with some troop of soldiers under his command, win some victory that he can come back to. I don't believe a word of it for a second. I also don't think that's what my brother needs. I think he needs to be grounded more than he needs to have his hopes built up for him. And coming along with you lot, you small group of people out there in that wilderness, making do with what we can, I think it will be a good experience for him and me both.
A nod.
I look forward to it.
The third might guarantee you fame. The 12th will guarantee you success.
Yes.
He nods.
I don't need fame. I need success.
Yes. Success is more important in the moment. It's always more important. That and integrity. But beyond that, he shrugs.
Didn't hope to hear of integrity from you and your lot. You don't seem the most scrupulous of individuals.
I am hurt, he says, grinning. We are the most, well, perhaps the second most honorable group of individuals you'll find in this whole fucking army.
Hmm. You must have a strange sense of honor then, seeing how readily Coltier goes to steal provisions.
The only person more honorable than the 12th are the whores of the 12th, he says, grinning,
Hmm.
because that is where all our pay goes, as meager as it is. And shakes his head. And I talk as though I am still a member of this fine band. Now I have a royal appointment. I must conduct myself with the glory that Caradir would see fit.
I have a feeling Carader didn't pick you for your conduct.
No, no. I still don't understand why he picked me. I understand the reason, but not the reason for the reason, if that makes sense.
Hmm. That is often how it goes with such monarchs so far above our own heads. We don't know what they truly want at the end of the day. They keep their intentions well hid.
You watch as Kaltir and the young boy begin to make their way along the backside of the wall and out of view behind the pavilions. Narama watches them uncomfortably as well and leans in. Are you sure you want to acquire stolen rations for our journey?
It's already set into motion. I don't mind it.
A nod. Very well.
Hmm.
At that, Parad grins. Well,
do you know of Relaz? I see myself coming at odds with him in the future more and more.
He is an advisor to Karadir himself. They say that the man keeps few friends, but that everyone in the Idavar either respects him or fears him.
Mm.
Many of his opponents have, well, turned up. Various states of decomposition. Though he's not as blatant with his corruptions as some of Karadir's other advisors. He has connections to some of the high Tavrish generals. And on top of that, he's a traveled man. Goes on long journeys to advocate for Karadir's needs.
Hmm.
He's gone from the capital. But you would think that a man who has gone so long would lose his position, well, and his power in the court. But now, every time he returns, he's just as magnanimously in control as he was when he left. Perhaps it's fear. Who can say?
Seems to like the smell of his own shit too much.
He does. That's one I wouldn't miss. But unfortunately, you'll never get him to lead a charge. I'd put him in the vanguard every chance I had.
Hmm. No, he is one of those snake-like types, like to slither their way around, get in everybody's ears,
I will say
contort and
this.
distort reality into whatever he wishes it to be.
I will say this for Relaz. The company he keeps is dark.
Doc?
A soft nod. There have been rumors in Prakandor for a while. Some of his associates are linked to less than savory things. He grimaces.
There's likely some good credence to those tales. From what little I have had the pleasure to interact with the man. Displeasure, really.
Some say he keeps a host of child servants in his manse back in the high capital. He cuts out all their tongues.
Just love to cut out tongues, it would seem. Wanted me to do that to poor old Kotzi.
But not, well, he has his peculiar fetishes, doesn't he? As do many men in power. He looks back at the barrel and the tankard resting on it. Turns to you. Was there anything else?
No. Not unless you have something you wish to bring up.
The shake of the head. No. I haven't known of the list for you yet. I should be about that. Fortunately, I was pulled away by my comrades. After all, the building of rapport is important to the soldier's duty. We must be able to trust each other, and to do that, well, we must know
You
each
have to
other
drink and
intimately.
fuck the same horse. Yes.
Absolutely. He grins.
I will well leave you to that then. I'll come back here in the next hour or so to see how Coltier's got along.
Excellent.
Enjoy your revelry.
He nods. Decompression, he says over his shoulder, is the correct term. Jealous. Or sorry, Dwayne. The Rama turns to you. That gives us an opening to fetch whatever else we might need to. Is there anything
Yes.
else that you require? They whisper. We're running low on time.
No, we can keep this simple. We don't need to overthink it. Just some food, weapons. We'll be fine.
The nod. Very well. Shall we
If
just... Hmm?
if the Majut wanted us to bring other things, he would have said so.
A nod. I guess that's close to it. A nod then slowly. Well, I guess we just wait.
Indeed.
And wait you do. Time passes slowly in the courtyard. Men come and go, members of the 12 and the other squads. Till at last, Galti arrives back, his cloak furled about him. The young man as well. Galti rummages around, opening some crates, moving some things, and then he walks over with what looks to be a leather sack in his hands, an oilskin fastened with a few boulders, with shiny brass fastenings, travel provisions. He hands it to you and nods. That's about 3 days in there. I hope you didn't need more than that, but it was risky business.
I'll shake the bag to feel its weight and I'll nod to him. It's much appreciated. I can always count on the 12th for success.
Most of it is, well, hardtack.
Spare me.
Grins. Nothing you'll find enjoyable, but it'll do just fine. He grins. And a little pinch of Anna's breath. He grins to spice the food. He winks and then shakes his head. I'm joking. Of course, of course. Maybe. And then, laughing, he walks away and back towards his comrades. The Rama grimaces and then gives the man a look behind his back, an opening of the eyes and pursing of the lips. He shakes his head. Foul creature, that one, but useful.
I find it amusing.
Do you?
Yes.
A simple nod at that. That is good to know.
Let us make ourselves scarce from this place, though. There is some credence to what Ralas said, even if what most of he speaks is shit. The more we're seen around them, the more people will talk and say things.
Yes. And it's time to go. Rohaj is waiting.
Yes, let us not keep the good Manchut waiting.
You begin to move back along the corridor till at last you come to Rohaj's stable. You'll have to maneuver the house out and through the hall, as this is an internal courtyard. But there is an exit not far from you. Not far at all.
I'll make sure to place the provisions in the saddle bag that we have the rest of what we need gathered for the days to come.
Place them away. Then, taking Rohaj's saddle and reins, you lead him carefully and quietly along the hallway. The Rama walks beside you, the two of you sharing a moment of serenity and quiet. You exit out and into the city, making your way towards the east wall. With Rohaj, we will have to make our way out the gate. That will be noted.
That's fine.
A nod.
They won't stop us, and we won't tell them why we're going.
Yes, and they
People
won't.
can wonder, they can guess. If they ask questions, we'll come up with something later.
A nod. Of course. You walk. walk in the silence of the street. Not a dirt about. Gerrit Khan has emptied, the curfew set in motion. All around you, as you silently make your way, you see the eerie quiet creeping into the streets. The occasional guard whispering at their post as they watch you go. A mist swirls in from the shore, lending itself an eerie glow about the street lamps which light your way. Doors are shut, locked and quiet, windows barred. Gerrit Khan sleeps. You come to the east gate. There you find a garrison, a dozen or so guards sitting about. A few at attention, a few others sitting down, drinking and eating after their evening meal.
Are they Roshi or Tavrish?
Vroshi on the east gate.
I'll approach.
You approach. The men turn. Eyes turn down then, staring at booted feet. Gaze averted.
Open the gate.
A silent nod from one man. He straightens his helmet as he does so. He quickly moves and opens the gate, not saying a word. One does not question a Koshan with the first gone. You make your way through the small entrance. You and the Rama step out and onto the dirt path leading east and southward. You will need to stray off the path and north to come to the Aushla blossoms.
How far is it?
Perhaps a few minutes to arrive. Not a few minutes, sorry, about half hour, I should say. It was about half hour from the entrance last time. You're also a
I
little bit
will,
more northward then, but it's okay.
Once we're past the gate, I'll turn and look at Marama. Let's ride there. Make pace. I don't want to be late.
A nod. I feel you will be late, regardless. But they help you up and into the saddle and follow suit behind you. They have to wrap
Hold
their
them up.
arms. You roll them up. They sit back saddle as they must, placing their arms around your waist, leaning against you as to not fall off the back. You ride slowly. You can feel the bump of them against you, the hip against yours. The moon has not yet found its way high in the sky, and the sun already blazes the horizon in the opposite direction, lighting it with fire of orange, yellow, and hues of pink and red. You come nearer to your destination. Your mom is staring off at the seascape and the sunset there.
I will give this cursed land one thing. It is beautiful.
Once it was not cursed. It was blessed by the conquest of the Koshan, an empire we ruled. Before we lost control, we conquered too much and we couldn't hold it. Hubris. Hubris was our downfall. But if more of our Koshane brethren had come with us, had journeyed from Ferm, we may have held it. We may have even challenged the Tavern. Alas, too few came.
I'm not interested in mayhaves. I'm interested in what wills.
But not.
We have a future ahead of us. Hopefully a bright one. In all the visions that I saw from my sister, you were there at my side.
A slow nod at that. did Halaskir ask? Do you think that is why he was so frantic? Do you think that is what he wanted to ask? Where am I amidst it all? Who
He was
knows?
there too.
A nod. I am
So
sure
was my brother.
he would
And
find
Eidolon.
a nod.
And another woman, strangely enough. One
Another.
with blue eyes.
A nod.
Hmm.
You seem to have many strange folk gathered round you. But that has often been the way of Azar. We do not seek for those who are similar. We seek those who live without. We bring them into the fold.
There were even 2 young boys. One with those blue eyes and one with those long, dark locks.
A nod. I would hope that the color of the boy's hair would be black. If it was anything else, you might be confused. You might be accused of adultery, says the Rama, grinning. All
People can
Koshani
talk.
hair is black. That never changes. You find yourself
One of them had.
nearing the Aushla blossoms, but continue.
The other one had these piercing yellow eyes as well.
A nod.
It struck me about them both, the 2 young boys, their eyes.
The amber eyes are not uncommon. But only among the first gone can they be found.
I do hope that those visions come true. That we can make that future come about.
A nod.
I want to stand by you and my sister and my family again.
We
With
shall.
what comes in the future too, offspring, sons, daughters, whatever it will be.
We shall secure a future. We shall make it our own. The Koshani shall again be grand. We shall be kings and queens. We shall have our kingdom, and it shall be like no other. Fair, beautiful, and vast.
You make it sound so certain.
I must be certain. If I lose sight of that, I'll lose sight of myself.
I'll swallow somewhat then and remain quiet for the rest of the ride, taking in the countryside as I do.
Do you come over the lip of the first hill, to look down and into the Aushla blossoms below? There was a noise coming from the distance. Strange and beautiful, though not foreign. No, familiar enough. The sound of an oud being played in the distance. The Rama looks at the direction of the sound. The Majud calls us.
I'll nod, closing my eyes and just listening to the tune in the cold night air as I let Rohaj sort of lead me towards the noise.
He makes his way amongst the blossoms, the steed carrying you towards the sound of the old instrument. You come closer and closer until at last you top another ridge. Down from beneath you in that valley comes the sound of the Majuts playing.
We will not interrupt him. We will go to him. I'll say, hopping down from my horse. I'll help my Rama down as well.
You help him down, the two of you wading across a sea of a deep azure glow. You see him then, the Majut Dijak, sitting next to an old pond of water, playing his out as he stares down at it softly, his fingers moving across the instrument, his face strangely melancholic. He looks
Come
up at you.
before him, and I will sit in the blossoms listening to his tune.
He looks at you, but he does not stop with his play. Instead, he continues the soft song, an ode to better days. It echoes across the Auschla field and into the silent night. The Rama sits beside you. All three of you gathered near to the clear pool of water. You can see the moon displayed out on it, its bright light glowing, bouncing off the surface and refracting across the Auschla blossoms. A brilliant glow gleaming across the landscape. The Majut finishes the last few chords, strumming his fingers woefully. And then, in a moment, the sound of it ceases and breaks. He looks at you. Late, he says simply. He looks you up and down. Unprepared. He looks to your saddlebag. And then he cocks an eyebrow. Alarmed? A question.
I'll slowly move the cloak from my side, revealing the dagger on my hip.
He nods at the long knife. Not the choice I would have made, but an honorable choice nonetheless. He stands looking to the pool of water, gazing into it and at the reflection of the moon. Brings his hand up to scratch his brow. Rama doesn't break the silence, but leads Rohaj a bit farther away to allow him to graze before returning.
I'll stand from the sitting position I'm in, but I will not break the silence either. I will simply stand there and look at my Majut, waiting for him.
He turns then to look at you. Up and down. And then he takes in a breath and exhales it slowly. I have made my decision. I cannot abide by myself in good conscience otherwise. Dwayne, you have forgotten your name, he says simply.
I'll just simply continue to stare at him.
He grins. Do not have the breath to utter the words of capitulation, he says, lifting an eyebrow. You have gotten too relaxed, he mutters to himself. Duena,
I am anything but relaxed.
son of Alaskir, you have two paths ahead of you, branching out like the river Ausher. He lifts his hand. He points far to the northward, past the moon, to the farthest stretches of the meadow. Leave, he says, grinning, but then lets the grin slip from his face. In exile from this place. Seek a land far away, never to return. Nameless, but alive. He nods. He lifts his other hand, holding the club of his station, and points it to the pond. Or return to Ausher. Seek redemption and rebirth that permit you to take Ausher Ta, to move beyond this bleak mortal existence, to seek redemption. But take your name, you will not, and leave from this place. He shakes his head. Back to your father's side, I will not permit. You are unworthy. I've seen that, time and time again. He grimaces, putting the club down between his feet. The Rama beside you tenses, and then... So that is the game. I see. I understand. This will have consequences.
It will. So you're looking at my Rama.
The Rama turns to you, and then Ishak cuts through it. You have till the moon waits, begins her descent, to decide. You may seek counsel with your Rama, and they may accompany you. Either way. Ishak turns back to look at the pond of water. Make your decision. I care not what you choose. The Rama looks at you grimly.
I look stoic, oddly sure of myself.
They tilt their
I look
head
to my Rama.
to a spot not far from the pond. Shall we converse? They whisper.
I see little point in it. I have my mind made up.
The Rama nods. Then the only option forward is the one I think. They say, a grim look on their face.
Go and see the Raj.
The Rama simply nods, and then moves towards the horse.
I'll turn back to the Majut then.
The Majut is looking at you. He looks you up and down, club held between his feet. So then, Ashata or the north?
What spurred this sudden decision?
He grimaces. I had to think. On the last time we spoke, and the times before, Your words are not the words of Halim. They never have been. You are too volatile. You cannot become him. It would be a disgrace. You are a disgrace. One which must not poison your father in these important moments. So,
You say all of this.
I would not bear the failure of your Zohaba in the days to come. And I would crush him.
Your failure.
No. I have served my purpose. I go to Aushata willingly. As soon as you make your decision, I will send myself on to Ausha. He looks down at the Aud and the pond beside him.
I felt that you had made your peace. That was what this was all about. Though I did not expect it to be so dreadful. Is this what the Mashag truly intend?
He
What the
shakes his
coalition of
head.
wills?
The Mashag have no part in this. None. This is my decision. He lifts the club. Choose. You said you had made your mind up. So what do you choose?
Everything that I've seen, everything that awaits me going forward. I refuse to simply turn my tail and walk away from that. I think you knew my answer the moment I came here.
Foolish boy.
That's why you asked me to grab a weapon.
He shakes his head. The assumptions of youth are always such. And then he firmly places the club in both hands. Very well then. Let us be done with this. Now, Shata, for both.
I'll throw the cloak off my shoulders then, pulling the curved blade off my hip.
You throw the cloak aside and into the blossoms, pulling out your knife under the moonlight. The Majute grimaces. I trained you with that, boy. I know how you use it.
If you trained me well, then we'll see how this goes. I'll begin darting forward towards him.
He brings up the club. He has the reach advantage. You try to close the distance. He swings. Roll. You have 2 rerolls.
I will reroll.
Very well. Very well. He swings. You're faster. You duck under the club. It's your move.
I'm going to take the dagger and with his arm outstretched, I'm going to try to bring it up into his armpit quickly.
Go ahead and roll. Let's see his bonuses real quick. Okay. Noted. You bring the knife up. As you duck under his club, you arc it up and in towards his armpit. He slams his foot down, stomping it on yours, and pushes himself inside of your reach, basically slamming his body against yours to knock you over. You have a counter response.
I'm
He
going
is
to try to
very
stand
fast.
my ground and reel against him, throwing my full weight against his own,
Very well.
trying to overpower him and bring him down to the floor.
D20. You have your bonuses.
We'll
Do you
reroll
reroll that? I'll DM rerolled it first, though. Very well.
That's 20.
Yes. You rail against him, pushing hard, trying to gain purchase. But he matches you. Though he slips, being pushed back slowly, you are stronger. He tries
Quickly
to gain
then.
purchase, tries to kick you between the legs as hard as possible. You have advantage in this currently, so let me add his negatives. Go ahead.
Roll.
Yes. D100.
I'll reroll that.
Okay, that's fine. Glad we're getting those out. Okay. Against. Noted. You can block and then counter move.
While he picks his leg up, I'm going to go for his bum leg that he's always kneeling upon,
Okay.
trying to knock it out from underneath him.
Very well. You move forward. You block his kick with your thigh, and then bring your other leg around and smash it into his shin. You hear a crunch of bone in that moment as his ankle twists and as his shin breaks. He falls backward, grabbing at you, trying to pull you down with him.
I'm going to try to let go then and back up so I can keep my footing.
Very well. Go ahead and roll. He falls backward and hits the ground as you wrench his grip off of you. It's your move. You have knife in hand still.
Going to back up then, circling around him like a vulture.
And then?
Just see how he reacts there.
All right.
With his broken leg there on the ground.
Gonna watch his reaction. He lies there for a second on the ground, the breath knocked out of him, and then he moves. He comes to a knee, club still held in his hand. He holds it in front of him, outstretched. He grins. You think me feeble still? Well then, you must finish what you start.
I've taken lives before.
But
It's not a big
not
deal.
a Koshani. He shakes his head, and he holds up the club like a sword, ready to swing.
Before I take your life, care to tell me if this was all just a test? Some other game being played? Or do you actually hate me?
No time for words, boy. I taught you that.
Well, as you said yourself, my words are not the words of Halim.
He grimaces, his face turning into a snarl. Blood drips down from where the bone pokes out at his shin. He kneels there, club in hand, waiting.
Simply continue to circle around him, eyeing him there on his knee, making sure to stay out of his reach.
He grimaces, looking at you as you go. The blood continues to drip from the wound. His eye twitches. And then brings the club down. He moves to push himself up to stand on one leg. Do you let him?
I will.
He comes to a standing motion, crutching himself with his club, balancing on one leg, the other one limp, the foot dragging across the ground.
I can put you out of your misery if you just simply tell me the truth and be honest.
He shakes his head. You talk too much. Then he balances on the one foot, hopping there for a second, club held in the other hand.
Come and get me, I'll say, still remaining out of his reach.
He snarls and then shakes his head. Resolutely, he looks at you for a second and then bounds forward. He leaps, one foot propelling him off. The club swings, aiming for your head.
I'll be ready for that. Having been sizing him up the whole time, watching his movements, I'll try to duck under it, then rush him again with my knife.
Go ahead and roll. Very well. He swings wildly. You duck under the club. In that moment, knife in hand, his entire chest open.
I will bring it up through his guard into his throat, holding it there.
As the man jumps at you, you bring the knife up, swinging it at his throat. You watch as the blade carves through flesh and sinew. The tip of the knife pierces up and through his neck and out the back. He splutters. The force of him flying past rips the knife out of your hands and he hits the ground hard. The club clatters out of his hands and he reaches up to try and grab the handle of the knife. Blood gurgling from his throat, he twitches, eyes wild. He can't speak, but he looks at you. His eyes narrowed and glaring. He holds the handle of the knife. His hands then twitch and fall to his sides as he gurgles for air, a death rattle escaping his throat.
As he does so, I'll rush over to his side, grabbing one of his hands and taking it in my own. Rest now, old man. Give up. You're done.
He looks up at you, and his head falls back as he lets go of the knife completely. And then the last hiss of breath escapes from the torn hole in his throat. And he has returned to Ausher to seek the river. From behind you, the Rama approaches. Not coming up to your side, but just to your left, your peripheral vision looking down at the Majud.
I'll still be crouched there, kneeling over his corpse, holding one of his hands in my own, gripping it tightly. I'll have my eyes shut.
The Rama does not interrupt the moment. There are not words which can be said, only feelings, expressions, and moments. When those are past, the Rama speaks. It's done then.
Yes.
The choice was made.
There was no choice to be made. He sought to deny me my future. That is something I will not allow anyone to do. I'll say, pulling the knife out of his throat. I'll stand and wipe the blood off of it on his clothes, and I'll turn to the Rama.
The Rama nods. Not his choice. Halaskir has pitted himself against the Mashak. He says quietly, eyes looking down at the dead man's body. Then
Yes.
he turns away.
It was all just another part of a game. These games are only going to grow more tiring and bloody as time goes on. Best to get used to it now. I'll say, looking down at the Mashak, the Majut, rather.
The Rama turns back to you. Halim,
That is not my name.
they look down to the dead Majud. It is. It is now. He will be here soon, no doubt. This was preemptive. This was early. They sit down then in the blossoms, staring at the pond.
You think my father's truly going to come for me?
He must. Halim, it's done.
Having cleaned the dagger, I'll place it back in the sheath, and I'll go and I'll sit by the Yud on the ground.
You move over to sit by it. You look down. It's an old thing. Well kept, well oiled. The strings have been replaced 1,000 times.
Do I know how to play it?
No. Mijak always said it was not the place. Not your place. And then the sound of footsteps quietly treading through the blossoms. Someone approaches.
As they do so, I'll have walked over to the small pond of water. I'll be washing my hands clean in it, getting the blood off of me.
The footsteps stop. You clean your hands, taking your time, and then, once you're done, it's your move.
I'll stand and face them.
You stand and turn. There stands Halaskir Razar, Lord of Exiles. He looks down to Ijak and then to you and nods. No emotion there.
It is done then. He nods. Good. He has returned to Elsher.
As you might see, clearly.
Good. He walks over, near your side, looks down at the pond, and then up to the night sky. You took the third choice. Good.
The only choice.
The only choice. He nods, smiling. The only choice if one wishes to succeed as Orhava. What comes next will be harder. He turns to look at you. Are you ready?
As ready as I'll ever be.
The Rama looks as though they are about to say something, and they stop,
Holding their tongue. Alice here looks to them, then back to you. It's
I'll still
early,
be.
but it was necessary.
Let's see to it then.
He
I'll say,
nods.
standing there tall, still somewhat on guard from the fight previous, sizing up my father a bit even as I stand here now.
He's wearing his long traveling cloak, as black as the night sky. wraps about him and makes him look, well, vast, as though a mountain of a man. He looks down at you, smiles softly.
Then it is time. Zohaba. Zohaba. He nods, has drawn its course. You have performed. You have performed well. There are 3 gifts that I must give you now. Come. For this, we must be alone.
I'll look to my Rama for a sole moment and then follow my father.
Your father wades into the Aushla blossoms. He wades with you. You and the man who made you, crossing the extent. As you walk, he turns to look down at you.
I knew you would succeed.
Was the point of him always being so grating so that I would do such a thing?
Perhaps. I wondered that myself when I was young. But then I realized that a lot of it was necessary. Perhaps it served many purposes. Perhaps there's no one answer. That would be too easy.
It would be too easy. Just to have a simple answer for once.
You will have
I'll grin to
answers.
myself.
You have earned answers. Don't you think?
This life has a funny way of not providing you what you're owed, what you've earned.
What we talk about tonight. What I gave you. That is earned. That is owed. But you are right. Beyond tonight, tomorrow, the next day, and all that come after, you will have to fight. You'll have to scrape. You will have to tear your way through the world to get even a small shred of what it is that you deserve. But not tonight. Tonight you have already fought.
My eyes will soften some as I walk, a smile on my lips.
There are 3 gifts. 3 things that all Goshuni men are given. The first, he says, looking to you as you walk, is your name. Alim Ozan Azar, the Prince of Scars, the Prince of Suffering. He nods. The name was yours the second your knife found the Majud's throat. Sending him to Aushir, you earned that right.
And the second gift?
That is a matter of discussion. What I am going to give you. It will change things in ways you can't imagine. But I need you to understand. This is no light task, for the gift comes with a curse. He nods. Are you ready?
I look at my father clearly one more time, sizing him up, trying to get a read on him.
He is implacable, but you can roll. No. He has masked himself to the full extent.
I am.
He nods, then clear your mind.
Shut my eyes and let myself, my very being, fall deep into that mind of stone.
You may roll. You have 2 rerolls. The reset happened during the fight.
We'll reroll.
Very well. You drift, like falling away into a river. It feels like falling asleep. It's like taking a long nap on a summer day. Nothing, just peace. A serenity falls over you so deep as to drown out all other ideas. You feel again that split, that strange shift. And then you feel it, or rather you hear it, the sound of your father's voice. Open your hand.
I will do so.
Something is placed into your palm, a gentle warmness to it, like an autumn breeze. Look.
I will do so, opening my eyes and looking down into my palm.
You hold a sphere of limitless dark. In its depths emanates a strange radiance which drinks in the color and light about it, as though thirsty for the essence of the air itself. It pulses gently in your palm, and then it begins to spread across your flesh, dissipating. You feel that emptiness within you being filled. Every crack, every recess, the blankness of your mind slowly being engorged. Something replaces the nothing within you. Your father watches on. Once the feeling fades from you, and a strange tingling resides, Alaskir Azar smiles. The second gift.
Care to explain?
He nods. It will take a long time. But I will. And so will Absail. I give you your Zoha. I give back to you your soul. The essence of your very being, carried for 1,000 years. You were chosen, Halim, proclaimed. And in that proclamation the Moshog made a decision which cannot be reversed. You were not Halim before, but you are Halim now. The Zoha is our essence. It defines us. It empowers us. It gives us authority as regents. And now you have yours. Can you feel it?
Yes.
And
I can.
how does it feel?
Less empty. There's something where there wasn't anything before. A hole that's been filled.
He nods. It feels right.
Yes.
He nods. The Zoha is you. It has always been you, though you have not always been it. Not till now. Do you understand?
I do. Up until now, I was but a vessel. But now I have been joined with what makes me me.
He nods. Yes. You always were the wiser of my sons. He looks to the moon, eyes gazing. The Zoha is a useful gift. It allows you to touch that which you couldn't before.
In what way?
You can bend it to your will, manifest it into the forms you desire. The Zoha is limitless, only bound to the creativity and to the will of the user. With it, you are invincible. But there are laws which guide and govern it. It will not touch the flesh of a mortal being, but it will touch the essence of their soul. With it, you can do great things, or terrible things. He says, looking down at his own hands.
Is that how you warded off Kotsier that one night?
He nods. I called forth my Zoha. I did not know if his power would affect it, damage it. It was a gamble. I bared my Zoha and used it to shield myself. But in doing so, I could have damaged it. That is something we cannot risk. When you bring forth the Zoha, you risk it. You make it manifest, bringing it from a liminal space to a physical one. There is little that can harm it, but there are things which exist.
And how does one manifest it? I'll say, looking down at my own hands.
Seek it out. In that way you have now known. Then, bring it forth. Your intent. Your intent will mold it to what it must be. He says. He concentrates for a second, his hand sheathed in anti-light, flaring, and then gently, he allows that darkness to lift from him. It takes on the form of a jellyfish, gently floating through the air, ascending, and then closes his fist and it turns to smoke. The form is limitless. The use is infinite.
I'll try and reach deep into myself and mimic his motion, though except this time trying to form Rahaj in my hand.
You reach down into that nothingness which you have formed, and there, finding it filled now with the Zoha, you bring it forward. You may roll a d20. You have a +2. Very well. You may roll a d100. You have a +40. +2, because you have a natural 2 to everything. Would you like to take a reroll or keep? You have 1 reroll.
I'll reroll.
Very well. Nope.
No.
Isn't it? Was it 20?
It's 25.
25, I believe. Okay.
The Zoha summons to your palm, your very soul transmogrifying on the air, shifting into the essence of the thing which you wish, that desire that you hold within you. You see Rohaj, his form silhouetted in that dark light, so perfectly manifested as to be almost a porcelain model crafted by the hands of a toy maker, except this one moves marvelously. It mimics his cries, his movements as it gently lifts its head and moves its hooves across your palm. Your father nods. Good. Control already. These are steps which even Halan could not make. The detail. Yes, that. He smiles. That is magnificent, Halim.
It just seems so natural to me.
It seems many things are natural to you. If only you were born the eldest. He shakes his head then, letting this thought hang on the air. There is one more gift. Abseil will guide you with the Zoha. I will not have time. Gerrit Khan takes all of it from me.
I know.
He turns to you. This last thing. It will change even more than the Zoha. You must swear that no living soul besides the two of us ever hears these words again.
I swear.
He
I can hold
nods.
a secret, unlike
Very,
most of the people within our walls.
he nods. Very well. Imagine this. You are a star, formed from the limitless nothing of everything. You become yourself, taking form and shape. You are a woman, a goddess, and from you come children, born of that same darkness. But those children are in need of governance. And so, you have a desire, a wish. You begin a great journey, a manifestation of your own will within them. And they carry that on, manifesting that will from generation to generation until it becomes endemic, connected, so deeply rooted within the minds and the very souls of those about you. That idea continues, an endless, limitless blessing, all for one meaning, one purpose, one wish. Governance, control, a way to seamlessly regulate and manifest your will so that it is unquestionable. What if I told you that the Koshani, the Mashak, they had cultivated within the idea, or they had cultivated an idea so strong, a notion which existed across aeons, the thing which gave them command. He smiles grimly then. Would you believe me?
I'm open to believing a lot of things. That's far from the wildest I've heard.
He nods.
Do you have the answers, though? Do you know what this great will is? Our part that we play in it?
He lifts his hand, a single finger outstretched. All things come from Aushar, and all things obey. And then he speaks, his words like music on the air, not a thing which you can understand in the moment, not by tongue, but by heart, his intent made clear. The blossoms about open, glowing deeply as he commands them to do so, and then they wither as he twists his hand, speaking. The Aushla came from Ausher. They are of it, and they obey. No different of Roshi, no different a Koshani of the Lesser Gone. They obey. He says, his words harsh. Control, Halim. Perfect and limitless. The word of power. The word of command. A gift that only those of the first Gone know, but forbidden to be spoken unless the situation demands it. There are laws, but we may speak on that later, before you depart. For now know this, such a thing exists. It will give you power over any being born of Ausher.
Mm. And all of the first gone possess these things.
Most. Those who were faithful. We have disposed of the rest, and we guard the word carefully. But the house of Azar is ancient. Thus, we possess it, as the first children of Leut. What say you of these gifts?
I accept them.
He nods, and then leans in. Then he says quietly, listen. And in that moment, he imparts to you the word of command, ancient and ineffable, and you listen in wonder. And that shall be all for now.